back here to be looking good. And so, but it's 8:45 and we are live on the Kong Family page. I want to welcome everybody to the Kong Family show today. We're the Kong Family, and we, for those who might not understand what the heck the Kong Family is all about, well, like Mr. Jon here, Jon, when you turn on that water, on that incredible lightning bolt in a box, that beautiful lady, she says, Kangen water, 9.5. Kangen water, 8.5. She doesn't say Kangen water, 8.5. She says Kangen. And how do you think that gorilla got so big? That guy was drinking water out of the base of the waterfall, getting natural Kong's water right out of the waterfall. And so I had to roll with it. I've always got to try and have fun with things and make jokes about things, and that's kind of what keeps me sane. But this is one part of the gig that isn't a joke. The Kong Family, we have this really simple goal. We just want to change the world. And Shawn, how is it that we're doing that again?
One glass of Kangen water, 9.5 at a time.
Man, and one lightning bolt in a box, and one awesome guest at a time.
Hey, so that's it. Hey, listen, I am really excited to have this cat on. I had the pleasure of meeting him in, what was it, 15, brother? We were in Anaheim when I had Keegan. That's right. And, this guy's originally out of Colorado. He's out of the Rocky Mountains of Loveland, Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it Loveland or was it Littleton?
Loveland.
Loveland, okay. And you're in
Redondo Beach.
Redondo Beach. And usually this cat's all over the place. He's in Florida. He's in the Czech Republic. He's all over the world, man. So we've been connecting on a few other things behind the scenes. And, it dawned on me really quickly that, we'd love to get a cat of your caliber on board here today. And, just being able to meet you several years ago, we really clicked, and I really liked your style, and it's neat to see you. What are you, like a 6A 4-6 something?
I'm a 6A 6-3.
Good Lord. Yeah. So obviously you've done a few things right, and it is our absolute intention to share the world from the Kong Family scene, the set, Mr. Jon Swardstrom. So that's the best I can do to intro you, bro. I'm going to turn it over to my man, Mr. JJ Surprise, and he's going to get after you like Howard Cosell or Walter Cronkite.
or Geraldo Rivera, as I used to be known.
Geraldo Rivera.
Rambo Raldo is what I had a nickname for a while because I looked like Geraldo and Rambo both. So
nice. Hey, thanks for joining us, Mr. Nelson. The Kangen tree topper is in the hizzo.
Yes, love it. Good to see you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Attaboy. You're gonna dig this one, Nelson. So saddle up, get some popcorn, some Kangen water, and enjoy the ride. Because
right on, brother.
Give us a great story.
Cool.
So go ahead, JJ. Get him, dog.
So, Jon, I always have a question that I love to know from everybody because I'm always curious about it. I know what got me involved, and it was a story. It wasn't all the facts and figures and technicalities of things. It was an incredible story from a beautiful lady named Brittany Dykes who dropped her story one day on Facebook, and after all this time of ignoring it and thinking it was ridiculous, that story came across and bam, freaking knocked me upside the head like a brick and changed my world forever and sent me on this mission that I'm on right now, that we're all on, really. Everybody who's truly a member of the Kangen Water family, they really and truly do want to change people's lives. They want to change the world by doing so. And so I'm always curious to know, first off, is, how, why, and when did you get involved with Kangen Water, and were you the same kind of skeptic that I was?
Definitely. I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's like a brother to me. His name's Chris Young, and he called me up one day and started the conversation off with, my wife is drinking this Kangen water, and she's got a lot of body fat and a lot more energy. So I'm on the phone going, okay, that's interesting, Then he calls up later on and said that his mother-in-law had severe rheumatoid arthritis, said their dogs also had arthritis. The dogs had these tumors on their bodies. And he said within 2.5 weeks, the tumors were gone, the arthritis was gone. And I'm like, what? I mean, and I'm kind of listening to this going, wow, okay, Then he calls up later on and said that his father-in-law's gray hair is going from gray to black, and he lost 30 pounds the first month. So I'm thinking, this sounds too good to be true. This is like, come on, But, when you get excited about something, you tell somebody maybe once or twice, and then you drop it. My friend actually called me up every other day for 5 weeks about this. So I knew there's something special about this. So I was like, man, I need to check this out. And I kind of made my own decision to go check it out because I was like, I need to see this, because if it's anything close to what my friend is saying, then I needed to get on it. And I'm not one of those guys that are obviously there's skepticism, but I like to put the benefit of the doubt with my friends and family and just leave that open. But I still was inside going, okay, well, this is something I've never heard before. But I went and saw the demonstration. And as Bob Redell likes to tell the story, and he always tells the story, I was a guy in the back of the room doing this, but inside I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, that stuff's amazing. Whoa, oh, wow, and I was just blown away. Even though my exterior was saying, oh yeah, I really don't believe this. This is BS. But the interesting thing was at this particular demonstration, everybody was acting a little bit too excited about the water. And it was kind of like an Amway meeting or something. I've never been to an Amway meeting, but these guys are kind of like, oh, did you try the water? Oh, it's amazing. And I'm hearing all these stories about the water. And I'm like, one guy with his diabetes, one with his high blood pressure, et cetera. So I'm hearing 20 stories about the water. And so I'm like, man, I need – so I started drinking the water myself. And I started noticing the same changes: body fat loss, more energy, sleeping better at night. And, it doesn't take a dummy to realize through deductive reasoning that if you hear 20 stories about the water and 3 of the stories are happening to you, then those other 20 stories must be true. So if those other 20 stories are true, then this is the best product I've ever seen in my life. And it was doing exactly what it said it was going to do. And I told my friend, and at the time I had 7 investment properties. I had my own business. And I just got my real estate license, which is kind of a big mistake because it was the middle of 2007. And the housing market was going, just taking a nosedive. And before that, I was doing a lot of lease buybacks. So if you know what those are, it's basically people who are losing their properties, and we would buy the property back from them and then lease it back to them at a price and that in which they could buy the property back at a discounted rate. So it's helping us, it's helping them. But, those is even going bad because our housing market just kept diving and diving and diving and diving. So I knew I had to get a machine. So my business wasn't doing well. Real estate wasn't doing well. And I remember I said to Bob Redell, I actually pulled him outside because I didn't want to embarrass him in front of people. I wanted to ask him some poignant questions. And I pulled him outside. I said, Bob, I want to talk to you. So I pulled him outside. And I do impersonations for I used to do it for money and stuff. So I pulled Bob outside and I said, Bob, listen, I need to know how many of these machines you actually had to sell personally and make $250,000 in your first 6 months. And I saw every check. I saw the stack of checks. I went through every check, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. And Bob, Bob is my favorite guy in the business. But he was no salesman. He didn't look like a salesman. And he was, hey, how you doing today? This is great, And so I said to Bob, I said, listen, Bob, I'm going to get a machine. That's done. But I'm thinking about doing this as a business. But I need to know how many machines you had to sell personally to make $250,000 because I needed to see if it was something that I could do. Because if it was 150 to 200 machines or more, I couldn't do it. So I put that in my mind. I'm listening to him, And he turned to me and he looked at me like Bob does and goes, "John, I only sold 12 machines personally." And I went, it took me like 2 seconds to answer him back. I said, "I'm in," you know? And so it was like Scooby-Doo going, "Right? Okay." And anyway, Shawn, that was for you. Anyway, so I to me, when I started the business, I was looking at the only person I really had to look as a guy that was to mentor my business model after was Bob Redell. Even though my friend sold me the machine, I saw what Bob was doing, and I know that any business, actually they say that 75% of all businesses fail within the first year. And every business that I've ever started, I work super hard the first year because I don't want that business to go down. And, you know, I always use the scenario that if I'm a pilot and I'm on the runway and I say, "Okay, let's get this plane off the ground," like a business, I'm not going to sit there and go, "Okay, let's put a half throttle and see if we can get in the air. Okay, here we go. I'm going to run out of runway. I'm just going to, okay." So the first year is critical. The pilot puts it and jams it up in first as hard as he can, the accelerator, and he gets that thing just, and then he gets it up in the air. And he doesn't stop when he's at 5,000 feet. He doesn't stop when he's at 10,000 feet. He stops at 30,000 feet, okay? Which in a business, you know, just getting out the ground is the first year. But, you know, the next 3 years, you're still putting the pedal to the metal because you got to get that plane up to 30,000 feet. And that's just common knowledge. And people talk about all-out massive action. If you look at Romy, if you look at JV Pacifico, if you look at Bob Redell, what these guys did to be successful is all-out massive action. Now, I didn't ask them, "Oh, how'd you do it, all-out massive action?" It was just something that was ingrained in my head. I got to work hard. I got to work from, as Bob says, 8 to faint. And that's what I did, you know. So I just worked it super hard, and I became a 6A in I think 9 months and a 6A2 in 15 months. And then it's like a snowball effect. And I tell people that, and what I've noticed in the business is it's just, you don't stop, you know, even if you're being pelted by hail and it's cold out and things like that, and you're trudging through the forest, you still one foot in front of the other, and you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And I remember I was having lunch with Bob one day, and this is about 6 years ago. And he said, and he's like talking about his group. And he said, "Yeah, my group's doing 500 sales a month." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, 500 sales a month. How can anybody do 500 sales a month? That's unbelievable. I'll never be able to do that. That's ridiculous. That's wow." You know, and I was still happy with what I was making, but now I'm doing that, you know, because it's just one foot in front of the other. And, you know, you gotta run with the runners and walk with the walkers. And so I've been doing some steady building. It's starting to pick up a lot more. It's been kind of on cruise control the last year and a half, but now I'm really starting to pick up momentum, and I got probably the biggest deals going on in the Enagic that I'm trying to put through right now that they've ever seen in their lives.
Wow. That's freaking awesome, man. I love hearing that. I just love seeing other people succeed. I know that if they can succeed, that means that there's a window there for me to be able to succeed as well. And so versus getting jealous of other people's success, I've always been somebody who jumped for joy over it, because it you know, we can all have it if we want it, but we have to work for it, right? And
Right.
So, you know, how long have you actually been involved with Enagic?
11 and a half years.
11 and a half years.
Yeah. I probably do more traveling than anybody in the business too, because I took third the nation in public speaking in college, and my dad, when I was growing up, had the fastest growing church in the United States. And my brother got me into public speaking because he took fourth in the nation. And so my big thing is if I can get somebody in front of me to see a demonstration, they're going to be sold. And 90% of the people who see my demonstration buy the machine. They might not buy it that night, that week, that month, but they'll eventually buy it. So people, I got people that fly me. One guy flew me to Nigeria, spoke at 3 cities there. Another guy flew me to England. Another guy flew me to Alaska twice. Guys flying me to Ukraine. So I go all over the place. And the whole reason is because I need to get people in front of me. People get in front of me, they get sold. So, and that's good and bad because a lot of my group, they're like, oh, well, let's just have Jon come out here in another month and we'll just wait for him. And, you know, they don't really want to do the demonstrations because they're like, oh, why would we do them when Jon can do them? And he does such a great job. So I'm trying to get my group to fill in the meantime and do, you know, a demonstration every 2 weeks. And then I come on every 6 weeks and do the demonstration. But before that, it was like, and I've seen I had a group in Washington, D.C., and they've kind of, since I stopped going down there because they told me, hey, we're good, Jon. We can, you know, do this business and we're supposed to be the leaders. And I'm like, okay, all right, great. You know, and then they just kind of lose momentum, start going downhill. And it's, so what I realized I gotta travel, but now I'm doing a lot more online marketing, but you know, I got to travel in order to keep the momentum going and the people going, which is fine with me. You know, I don't mind traveling really. But it's, I also need to get my group to start doing the demos, even if it's every other week. And, even if it's just one-on-one.
Yeah. Amen. So, what kind of, and the reason I like to go with this next question is, like I said, it was a story, and quite frankly, it wasn't a business story. It was a health story. And ultimately that's what we're all after. We want physical health. We want mental health, spiritual health. We want financial health. And so they all work together, just like Mr. Oshiro's dream. And, so what kind of health things have you, I know you mentioned a few things right there that your buddy talked to you about that was what got you involved. Chris Young, you said, what kind of personal experiences have you had, like for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for, you know, you got anything interesting? And I also want to, before he goes into this, kids, I want everybody to understand that something real important we have to point out here is that Kangen water is a gift. It's a tool. It was given to us by God and Mr. Oshiro. And the miracle, the magic, the amazing, the incredible is this thing right here. This thing right here. This is the most amazing machine that the world has to offer. And it is truly amazing. Runs on 120 millivolts of electricity and hydrogen. And you give it that stuff and it's amazing what it'll do to fix itself. And so I want people to understand that whatever it is that Jon says here, it's not Kong's water that did the fixing. It was the body, the human machine that did its fixing, because it's designed to fix itself. We just have to give it what it needs, right? So what kind of stories do you have to tell that happened for you over the last 11 and a half years that you just went, wow, incredible?
There's a famous saying in the business, facts tell, stories sell. And there was also, Omar Ramirez had a guy come out here and teach about marketing and things like that. And it's interesting because I bought his CD set and I'm listening to it in the car. And he says when he goes into a new town, he doesn't look for the best salesman. He goes into the bar and says, hey, who's a guy in here that can tell the best stories? And that's the person that he wants on his team. And he talks about just telling stories. And I thought to myself, I'm listening to this guy on the CD, and I thought, man, that's what I've done all my life. I just tell stories. I don't really get, maybe 20% of it is facts about the water and this, that, and the other. Percent of it is just stories. Good example is I was just in the gym and I found this guy who looked really familiar, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning where most people are at work. And I'm like, man, this guy looks like this guy in this TV show. So I finally walked over to him and I said, hey, you know, and by the way, what am I doing now? I'm telling a story, right? It's all about, and I can tell you, do this, 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 and this, but a simple story like this is going to speak volumes. When you look at the Bible, what did Jesus do? He didn't say, do this, this, this. No, he taught in parables. And a lot of people like just couldn't get it, couldn't understand it and explain it. But, and especially like the sower of the seed, I talk about the sower and the seed and how it relates so much to this business. And you're going to, basically, Jesus is saying it's going to fall on 4 different soils. It's going to fall on the thorny soil, the rocky path, or the rocks, or the path. And it's going to fall on good soil. And the one that falls on the path is going to be eaten by the birds. Okay, so the birds, and everybody's like, man, what's Jesus talking about? He's talking about this guy sowing seed and someone's getting eaten. Is that half it's dying and only 25% of it, actually works, And he had to explain it to his disciples. And he said, the one that falls on the rocky soil, the birds come down, swoop it up, eat it, and fly away. And those are the people that come to the demonstration or hear about the water, and they're just like, oh, man, this is great. I want to get a machine. This is fantastic. And then their friend comes over who has like the bird and says, oh, yeah, that Kong water is BS. Look at this article I read. See, yeah, this guy says it's BS, and you should believe this article because this guy, we don't know him, but he's some guy that sounds like an expert, And then some of it falls on rocky soil, and it quickly gets scorches, and that's just the person who's just, I don't believe it. And some of it falls on thorny soil, and it says it starts to get roots, but it dies off because it doesn't have any soil to get into. And we all have people like that get excited about the Kong and water. They try for a little bit, and then they just kind of fall off. But then some of it falls on good soil and yields 100 or 40, 60, 100-fold. And those are the people that you want on your team. And I was thinking about this too, is because I say the biggest thing for my success out of anybody else in the business is I will take the ones that fall on the good soil, and I will cultivate them, and I'll make sure that they are successful. I'd rather spend my time with that person who's bought the machine and who's gotten good results, believes in the water, than I will trying to find a new prospect, because I'm going to find gold with that person. So going back to my story, it's just about going to a different story, but so I went over to this guy at the gym and I said, hey, what do you do for work? He's like, oh, I rescue kids from all over the world and from bad situations. I'm like, oh, okay, He's like, why? I said, you look like this guy on this TV show. He goes, oh, what TV show? I said, 24. He goes, oh, you mean the Blacklist? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, that's me. Which is my favorite show on TV. And so we talked. We talked for 45 minutes, and the last part of the conversation was about his sister who had Hashimoto's disease. So I've already been talking to him for a half hour. So you named any disease, and I've got a testimonial on it. Any type of cancer, I got a testimonial on it. So I told him about my friend Cindy, who had Hashimoto's disease. He said that his sister had Hashimoto's disease, and she was walking around with a cane and could barely walk. And I started talking to him about the water and about Cindy. Cindy had been to 6 different doctors, and the doctors couldn't diagnose her with what she had. And the last doctor diagnosed her with Hashimoto's disease. And Cindy, I know from church, I said, Cindy, you got to try the water. You got to try the water. You got to try the water. And finally, after about 2 months, she's tried the water, and she got miraculous results, bought a machine. She's a big advocate for it. So three days later, I see this guy, Boz, in the gym. Hey, Boz, how you doing? Good. And he starts asking me questions about the water. Oh, yeah, okay. So he's a very inquisitive guy, He was very high up in the CIA, it turns out, too. And the reason they had him on the blacklist is because his friend's a producer, and he says, I need some guys that look like you, like the CIA, and I want you on the show. He says, well, I'll just get my former CIA friends, and we'll just be on the show and act like the henchmen. And my friend says, just as long as they don't have that many lines, which any actor would have been like, what? Give me some lines. Anyway, so 3 days later, I see him at the gym, and he says, ask me more questions about the water. And he finally says, yeah, I want to get them for my sister. I'm like, okay. ships it out to Florida. She's walking around with a cane. She's lost 30 pounds. She's running a half marathons now, and the symptoms are pretty much gone. And he is so thankful for this. And he's got some, exactly. So he's got some great testimonials. And this guy, and by the way, he went to the church. He goes to the church that my dad was pastor at. And I was telling him about the church that I'm at. And now he goes to that church. So I see him every day at church. Now, I just met with him yesterday. And I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet, but he's got I'm just like, oh my God, is this guy serious? And we're going to market it now to just, it's unbelievable what we're going to be doing. And so all through him. And it's just about, and I just, I talked to the guy. He's gotten probably about 5 or 6 sales, and just loves the water. He's gotten the producer of the Blacklist bought a machine. I installed it at his house. So he's super sold on the water, but he's thinking big picture. He's thinking, how do we get this to the masses? And he rescues kids all over the world from bad situations. And this is the way he's thinking, is how do we get this to the masses? So back to you, JJ.
That is exciting stuff right there to me. I mean, and every day I come on here and talk about how we're going to change the world. And I'm sure most of the people that hear it, they are just, yeah, whatever. They're as skeptical as I was when I first heard about the water. When I watched my buddy Tim McGaffin post about it for 6 months and just kept going, water is stupid, just stupid, and turns out it was me that was being stupid. I wasted 6 perfectly good Kong months of my life,
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't want to waste any more time. I've literally found my mission in this world, and it's really my mom that is my mission. And I lost her back in 1990. And I always think about the fact that this water was available. I just didn't know about it. And I believe that had I known about it and been able to get her to drink it, that she'd still be here with me today, barring some catastrophic accident or something like that, because we never know what's going to happen in that regard. We talk around here all the time about that yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not guaranteed, so we might as well just get after it today, right?
Exactly.
And my mom, she was on 22 different medications. She had a 6th grade education because she could never stay in school long enough. She was always so sick from this, that, or the other. I was the second to the last of 12 kids. It's amazing to me that I'm healthy. It is truly amazing to me, considering what my mom went through in her life. And she developed a cyst on the backside of one of her kidneys. It poisoned her spinal fluid, turned her into a vegetable, and in 4 days she was gone. And that was 29 years ago, come this July 16th. And the thing is my mission is to try and help people with that, because every single time I hear about somebody getting sick, I just heard this morning about a friend of mine that I reached out to. She reached out to me 6 months ago about the water and about cancer, because I read the book World Without Cancer 26 years ago, and have been sharing that. And interestingly enough, I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, John, but the World Without Cancer book by Ed Griffin, it has its roots in the exact same spot on the planet as Kangen water does, which is the land of Hunza. That's where the Russians and the Japanese scientists went there to study their water. And, the Japanese took it and ran with it like a dog with a bone, and here we are. But both of them had their origin in the same spot. And so that was really something that caught me and made me realize that this is something for real. But yeah, she just passed away in 3, 4, 5 months ago when her daughter reached out to me. If she would have actually taken the initiative and started getting her to drink this water, maybe she might still be here. But we don't know for sure, because there is a point of no return. But as Dr. Oz says, there is no incurable disease, just so long as you can catch it soon enough. And the stories that keep coming out day after day after day after day are just so incredible and so enlightening and so heartwarming. that it just drives me every day to continue doing this, to keep fighting and battling and getting the information out there so people can make an educated decision. And that's why it's so special to have people like you on here. And, you know, so I don't even know what that Hashimoto's disease is or anything like that. But, you know, I want to ask you and move into the next thing before I move on to any more questions of mine, I'd like to ask Shawn if he's got anything that he wants to run by you based on the things that you've already said, and same thing with Paul, see if they've got anything they'd like to add to the discussion.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, you know, everything he's talking about is, you know, there's that common theme, you know, just with who's being successful and who's not. And if you're not getting after it, if you're not putting feet to pavement, if you're not getting your elbows greasy and interacting with people and, you know, just making contacts, you're not going to be successful. And I love how Jon kind of just set up his experience and just how he's kind of rolled with it, like Steve Winwood told him to, you know what I mean? And, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, it's these kind of stories. It's this kind of stuff. I mean, we started getting shifted into the people with, you know, that are sick and people we wanted to get this water to. I mean, there's a handful of people that I wish I could have got this water to prior to that. But what I can tell, you know, you talk about the body being the machine. Look, everybody that has allowed me to share this water with them has experienced some type of benefit, you know, and people in the 11th hour across the board, people in the 11th hour have experienced some type of miracle or other. And because the body responds to the right elixirs, you know, so to speak, the right energy, you know, providers. And, you know, we've never seen anything like Kangen water on the planet unless we live by a spring or we live by a glacial source, and most of us don't. So, no, I just like the direction of the conversation, and I can't really think anything. I just kind of sitting back listening. Paul, you got anything for this cat?
You guys haven't ever met anything like this angel right here. This is my better 99.9%, and she's got her head out. Say, "Woo, honey."
Hello. Got my water.
Yeah, you know, she's an angel sent from heaven to me. And, you know, she's amazing. She's worked at the local grocery store here. It's changed a couple times its name and that kind of thing. But she's literally been working at this grocery store as a cashier for 29 years. And she has called in sick 3 times. 3 times in 29 years. She's truly amazing, and you guys, you know, you guys just got a gift. You got to meet my sweetie. I think everybody in the world should be so lucky as to meet my sweetie at least once, and so that's another gift to the Khan family today. So anyway, sorry about that. I always have to interrupt when my sweetie comes in the house.
Definitely.
So anyway, yeah, Paul, do you have anything that you'd like to add to the equation?
No, sir. I just want to thank Jon for being on here. I'm going to put a couple of my clown buddies in front of this guy.
Clown buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, bro. That's my song.
Well, you know, they say that family is the hardest people to convince. I did the demonstration for my mom after the 2nd month, and she stood there the whole time like I did. And now my mom has been a registered nurse for 50 years. And she's also a clinical psychologist. And the last 10 years where she was, as a nurse, she worked doing clinical trials for drug companies. You see if the drug works, getting the patients, trying it on them, etc. So when I finished my demonstration in the kitchen with her and my brother, she looked like this. And she didn't say anything. And at the very end, she said, "You paid how much for that machine?" And then walked out the door. And it was like a bullet just going, bing, just bouncing off me, because that didn't bother me at all, because I knew that the water was great. The very next day, I did a demonstration for my friends in Seattle, Darren and Rosalind, and they bought the machine, and they've now sold over 1,500 machines. It took my mom 6 months she finally bought the machine, and because she ended up in the hospital with Dupuytren's disease and high blood pressure. Her blood pressure is over 210, and they wouldn't let her out of the hospital because her blood pressure is so high. So my mom said, quote unquote, I know better than to take any pharmaceutical drug. So she bought the machine after she heard all this, pretty much daily of what it was doing for me and my friends. And she got miraculous results. And so she started selling the machines. She now sold over 1,500 machines. So it's just a matter of, and then my mom's a 6A 2-2. My brother's a 6A 2. My dad's a 6A. And it's just, but I have my other brother who's just dead set against the water and is, it's taken him a while. My sister, my dad passed away 5 years ago. I don't know if you know the story, but I actually told this at the Vegas convention on stage when I was speaking. And were you there, Shawn, about 4 years ago? Do you remember me speaking about this?
Very much so.
Okay. Yeah, so my dad, I did all of his demos and things like that. And he got him up to 185 sales. I was flying out to Florida for his group doing demos, because I want to see my dad succeed, and he wasn't doing too well financially at the time. And 5 years ago, he was in Seattle, and he's driving my mom and I to the airport, and I was giving him a hard time about something, and he's turned around as he's going to go put some gas in the car and says, why don't you just, I've been in bad health, I've been bleeding out of my rectum, and he walks away. And my mom looks at me, who's been in the medical field all of her life, and she goes, John, that is really, really serious. And I'm like, wow, okay. So we flew to Los Angeles, and the next day my dad went in to see the doctor, and the doctor says he's got cancer all over his body, and it's stage 4, and it's absolutely horrible. My dad only goes to the hospital if he's losing an arm or if he's dying. So to get him to go to the hospital was really serious. And this was at Easter. And so my whole family was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. We were just like devastated because it was super, super bad cancer. And so the doctor told him to fly back to Los Angeles. So he did. And the rest of my family, my mom, my brother, his wife and kids, and my brother flew back with my other brother flew back from Seattle with my dad. And so we all came to the airport and met there waiting for him to get off the plane. And he's coming down the hallway. We could see him coming. And I wanted to be the first one to go greet him. So I kind of went ahead of people and I gave him a big hug. And I said, Dad, how can you have cancer? You got the Kangen water machine. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, John, I never had it hooked up. Are you kidding me? I about fell over. And he's, oh, don't worry, I'm going to start drinking a lot of it. I'm going to start drinking 11.5. Well, at that point, you talk about being on a slope. He's already falling off the cliff. And and knowing what I know about doctors, and my older brother doesn't believe in the Kangen water and was just doing what he thought was best. He's got a lot of connections with doctors and medical and hospitals, and he got him at the best cancer place there was but he ended up dying 2 months later. And so you talk about stories and being a product of the product, I've seen a lot of, and that's probably the most frustrating thing about this business is my friend just got diagnosed with cancer. My best friend in high school is just an amazing guy, always prom king, homecoming king, etc. And he got diagnosed with cancer, and I'm like, what? How can this guy didn't call me? He knows what I do. And they just rely on the doctors and think, oh yeah, the doctors know best. And he said, yeah, John, if this doesn't work, I'm going to talk to you. It's like, and that's the most frustrating thing about this is, you can help people and they don't ask for your help. And it's just, you kind of built up a a numbness to some people that just say they're acting like the soil fell on rocky soil. It's just like, well, I can't get that person to listen to me. I can't get that person to buy the machine. So you just got to learn to accept it and just be like, okay. Because the whole parable about the sowing the seed isn't about making seed grow on rocky soil or on the thorny soil or chasing the birds away. That the whole purpose of the story is to spread the word about the Kangen water, and that's your job. That's all your job is. It's not to make plants grow out of thorns. You know, you can't do that, and you just got to accept that some of the soil is going to fall here, some's going to fall here, and some's going to fall in good soil. And those people that fall on good soil, those are people you want to concentrate on.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of like what Sam Tran says. And this has really helped me a lot, because you're absolutely correct about the most frustrating part of this is that, you know, you want people to, you know, that you have something so special that can literally save people's lives. Like Sam says, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to save your life. You know, I'm here to save your life. If you don't want to save your own life, see, the thing is I can't possibly care more for your health than you do. Because if you don't care about your health, that's whatever. You know, I always refer back to the very last part of the book, World Without Cancer, where he says, you now have the ability to live in a world without cancer. And the only reason that you have this ability is because someone out there somewhere was gracious enough to bring this information to your attention. Can you do any less for others? And that freaking hit me so hard upside the head at the end of that book after reading all of this just incredible, life-changing, paradigm-shifting information that literally changed the course of my life. And, you know, from the point on in 1993 when I read that book, from that point on, I started taking a proactive approach to my health. And because of reading that book, I developed a crazy disdain for doctors. I call them doctors. You know, there are good doctors out there, guys like Dr. McDonald and Dr. Donaldson, Dr. Awe, and Dr. McKnight, and on and on and on. These ones who are looking at nutritional type stuff, you know, holopathic and whatever. But yeah, we have to suffer through this because we care about people, and that's definitely the most difficult side of this equation of this company. And it literally just breaks my heart every time I hear about somebody. Like this morning, my heart broke again when I found out about my friend's mom passing. And the thing is that all we can do is what we can do. You know, for all these years, I've been telling people about the World Without Cancer and giving them the information. And my job is simply to get them the information. And I'll do things like I one day, you'll probably get a kick out of this, but one of the big tenets of that book is to get your apple seeds and your apricot kernels and get them into your body each day. The mission, the machine, as we like to call it out there, they tell everybody that apple seeds are poisonous and apricot kernels are poisonous. And if you eat them, they're going to kill you because they've got arsenic in them. No, they don't have arsenic in them. They have cyanide in them, actually, and benzaldehyde. And they're not poisonous at all to anything but the cancer cell. But literally, I was at the Taco Bell on taco night, getting some tacos for supper, and I see this lady come walking in eating an apple core. She's eating her apple, you know, and I know what she's going to do. She's going to eat around it and leave the core. And I get to the point and I see that she's getting ready to throw her core away. And I walk over to her and I go, "Excuse me, ma'am, but are you going to throw that away?" And she looks at me like I'm nuts, and she looks at the core like it's nuts, and looks at me like back and forth. And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Can I have it?" And she goes, she shakingly hands it to me. And I go, "Oh." And I chomp down this total stranger's apple core, right? And it just blew her mind. She's like, "Holy crap, what you just did!" And what the reason I do that, and I do it all the time, there's one reason why I do it, because it gives me the opportunity to share the story. It gives me the opportunity to suggest to her that she read The reason I did that is because that is one of the most important things that you can possibly do for yourself is eat your apple seeds. Don't throw away the core. If you want to learn about it, the book is called World Without Cancer. It just simply gives me an opportunity to share that, to plant that seed, and what they do with it, where they go with it, that's up to them. And that is exactly the same kind of parallel that we face every single day here in the Kong family with trying to share out Kangen's water, this incredible tool and gift to the world. And so, that's something that I hold dear, and I do it as often as I get the opportunity. I'm full of all this good stuff, so I'm not worried about their germs or anything like that. It's like, hey, my body's got this incredible immune system, and it's going to whoop butt on anything you can add to it. So, that's kind of where I go. But go ahead, Shawn.
Yeah, no, and again, I kind of want to get back to just, that wall we hit with people, and one of the things that I've learned about, like, when you're talking to people and the whole getting their attention, trying to help them understand it, the thing that I've learned, is to really understand is that cognitive dissonance. People hold on so strong to things that they want to believe in, at the core. And people want to believe water's just water. You talked about your mom, John. She's a nurse. Her whole paradigm was with medicine and that kind of thing. So I can see, medically, and just some of the doctors and people in the medical profession that I've talked to have looked at me like I'm nuts. And, at the same time, I realize they're just being trained in something totally different. But, a lot of people, when you present them with evidence that works completely against their core beliefs, it's hard for them to accept it, and it's like, it goes back to that whole thing of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't dunk their head in it, that's just the reality, because a lot of people that you bring this up to for the first time or whatever, it just creates this extremely uncomfortable mindset that's like, this is so challenging to what I'm dealing with. And I think that, to me, is eventually going to change. I think what we're doing right now is we're laying the foundation to changing that. And you look at how many people he's getting in his organization monthly, and just what's growing. We got 480,000, 500,000 machines in this country, and there's only 137 million registered domiciles, homes, residents. We're not even a half of 1%, so I just think that ultimately, that's going to change for a lot of people. And you talk to like the people along the way, your mom, obviously, she figured it out eventually, and she changed that, she changed her mindset, but it took a period of time. It took some experiences. It took, your story and all that. I just think it's critical, and it's important that, we stick through it, with those that want to learn. I've told people that blew me off years ago, and all of a sudden they keep reading my posts, and you can see that little trickle effect, man, little trickle effect. Next thing you know, one of my biggest skeptics, gets me, calls him to get a machine because his mom's got brain cancer. At the end of the day, she started drinking the water in 7 weeks. They gave her 2 to 3 months, but they scheduled 5 chemos in that 2 to 3 months. You know what I mean? And the cancers disappeared. The golf ball shrunk to the size of a marble that was smaller than the original marble that was in the back by her brainstem. Went back to her doctor and told him what had going on, and he said the chemo must have had a delayed effect. And, long story short, that's why I got my man in Germany, John. That's why, he was playing ball here in college in the States, here in Montana. He lives in Germany now. It's back where he's from originally. And yeah, I've got 50 some machines out there in his organization. And it all was a matter of just being patient and sometimes letting it go and letting him come back to me. And he called me in an 11th hour state of desperation. And I tried to tell him, hey, look, I don't know what it's going to do. It might relieve some pain. I don't know how far she is. She lived another 3.5, 4 years. And the only reason she died is they bullied her into going in to take her radiation. 14 months, something like that. Come get it. It's paid for. Well, you know darn good and well the doctor's just looking for his kickback. I mean, the insurance might have paid for it, but until the procedure's implemented, he ain't getting no sugar. And that has to be a part of my mindset. She was healthy. She was doing well. They finally went in, talked, you know, as a family. They decided to go in. She went and watered and fed her horses and went to the hospital for the radiation. 10 days later, she died. She never left the hospital. The radiation killed her. And then that's, to me, what I'm trying to help get people's attention is like we've become so indoctrinated into the machine's rhetoric and propaganda, you know, and it's just not. So I really think that at the end of the day, these stories, this kind of forum, it's amazing, man. And I'm humbled by it. And again, having cats of your caliber on here and being able to just trust me, especially on a last minute dime. Way to fly by the seat of your pants and roll with it, my man. I appreciate it. This is an exceptional show, man. I'm just digging it. So, hey, cheers.
Well, you know, my mom had a guy who had stage 4 esophageal cancer, and she was bringing the water to him. This is right when she was kind of like experimenting with the water. And on his 3rd chemotherapy treatment, 3 months into it, he was going in for the chemotherapy treatment. The doctor came back in the room, and he got in the guy's face, and he said, "I've treated thousands of cancer patients. This is the first time I've ever been able to say this. So you can't find any cancer in your body." So that's what really turned my mom. And so the guy says, "What do I do?" He says, "You can go home. You don't need this chemo." And, you know, according to Oncology Magazine, 80% of doctors who use chemotherapy and radiation on their patients wouldn't use it on themselves or their family. And according to that same article, only 3% of people who get chemotherapy live more than 5 years. So this is a document written by doctors that doctors read. So why would you do it? You know, and if you look, and I don't know if you've seen the video, I love this video. It's with Ron Hicks. You know who Ron Hicks is?
Heard of him.
And you need to check it out. It's I think it's on my Facebook page about 7 months ago, but it was actually Bob Redell's video. And what happened is Bob Redell calls me up and says, "Oh my gosh, John, you got to check out this video. I was just in Texas, you know, and this guy got up there and stayed, and he's unbelievable." And I was like, okay. So I check out the video, and I put it on my YouTube channel or my Facebook thing, and within the first day we had 16,000 views. And wow. What happened was this guy Ron Hicks won Medical Device of the Year in 2004. He makes medical devices. And his wife, and he speaks at Promise Keepers. He speaks in front of 30, 40,000 people at a time. And he's been in Forbes magazine, you name it. His credentials are like this long. And his wife comes home with the Kangen water machine, Tisha. And he's like, "Man, I'm the man with this type of stuff. And she didn't even ask me about this." And she's like, he's all upset, you know. So, okay, I'm going to find a problem with this machine. So the next day he takes it to his office, unbeknownst to his wife, and he has his engineers take it apart and try and find holes in it. And the engineers came back and said, this thing is overbuilt. And 10 of his engineers behind his back went and bought a machine from her. So he said everybody in his office has one now. I think there's 30 people in his office. So he's like, okay, well, his new thing right now is a computer chip that he puts in cattle, and it can monitor their health. And so he says, well, let's try it on cattle. And speaking at this event in Texas, he said that the cattle are producing more offspring, producing more milk, more vitamin-rich milk, are healthier, and are living longer. Now, what rancher wouldn't want that?
Right.
And then his wife also showed me pictures of the cattle, and she said this cow's been drinking spring water, and you know he's kind of bloated. You know, she says, okay, now this cow's been fed the Kangen water, and whoop, all trim and everything. And she says, now this steak is from a cow that's been fed spring water, and there's marbles of fat in it, and looks like a typical steak. So now this is a steak from a cow that's been drinking the Kangen water, and there's no fat in it. It looks like a perfect like Kobe steak. And she says that the cooks, the chefs say that when they cut the meat with a Kongan, the ones where the cow's been fed Kongan water, the meat cuts like butter. And so that video just went viral. And Ron says, listen, on stage, you spoke for 15 minutes. Listen, when you do research, don't go to Google. He goes, you go to scholar.google.com. Those are articles that have been written by universities, etc., that have been doing research on this. And then you type in ERW, electro-reduced water, or ERW. You put ERW cancer, ERW arthritis, ERW whatever. And there's all these articles written by clinics, universities, on how the water has had amazing, miraculous, positive results with these type of things. So people can say all they want about the bad stuff. Say, look, don't go. What are you going to Google? No, go to scholar.google. Let me send you some articles, and you send those to doctors. Now, I got to be good friends with I wanted Ron on my webinar, and so I got to know his wife really well at the Queen Mary event and stuff, and we talked, and she says, listen, Ron's going to be in your webinar if he's really good friends with you. And I'm like, okay. So I was having a conference in November for my group there. I got about, just in New Zealand, they're doing about 400 sales a month, my group there. And so whatever they want, they get. You want a conference? We got a conference. So I heard that I was talking with Tisha, and I said, yeah, Tisha, I'm doing a conference in November in New Zealand. It's like, oh, Ron and I are going to be in Australia at that time. He's speaking in front of 30,000 people, blah, blah. I go, oh, Tisha, it'd be great if you guys can make my conference. She says, what date? I told her the date. She says, oh, yeah, we're going to be in New Zealand. Sorry. I'm like, ah. So she calls me like 5 days later. Hey, we're going to make your conference. I'm like, yes. So I had Ron speak again. And this one I got on video on YouTube because I was just so excited to have him speak on stage. I got to introduce him. And Ron had to be a lot more careful with what he was saying because he works with Microsoft and a lot of these top companies. And he said, by the way, that those studies that they're doing right now in the cattle, producing more milk, etc. He said at the Dallas thing, when these studies are published, which is going to be in May, you're going to be selling these like crazy. So fast forward here in November, he gets up and speaks, and now he's got to be a lot more careful. But he's talking about how this machine is unlike any other with the pharmaceutical grade platinum, titanium, etc. And just the simple fact that it's a medical device in Japan, and this is what he harped on. He says, it takes me $35 million for a medical device to get certified in Japan, and it takes a minimum of 12 years. Now, just the fact that this Konga machine has these certifications is unbelievable. And I got him to talk. He talked for 15 minutes on that. And you probably want to see that video. It's on my YouTube channel. It's really good. I just published that one. And then 2 months ago, I was in Japan with Ron and Tisha for 4 days in Tokyo. So it was really cool. But Ron is super busy, and it's an absolute pleasure to have him speak at the conferences.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, we've been going now for an hour, and I know you're busy, and we're all busy and have things we've got to get going on. So there's really only two more things I'd like to touch on, and I can't wait to hear your answer to this question, because this is my surprise question that I love to ask everybody, and the answer that everybody always gives some different answer, which is always great. You've got a person that you are talking to about Kongan water, and you only get to say one thing to them. What is it?
Well, I guess it all depends on the circumstance, where I'm at, what their problem is, etc. But I think more than that, your body language says more than anything that you can say in your mouth. And I found that, I always analyze, after I talk to somebody, I always analyze, okay, what I did wrong, what I did right, etc. And with Boz, I just talked to him for a half hour about shooting the breeze, find commonalities. and then once you have the commonalities, we grew that relationship. So I don't think there's any set thing you can say. I would never just go up to somebody and say, Kong bars and antioxidants is fantastic. It'd just be like, okay, what's this guy trying to sell me? You know, I would just get up there and just get to know them first. I would walk up and say, you know, hey, John. And of course, I got to give their name. Oh, Steve, how you doing? Hey, good. You know, notice you're in the gym, yeah. Or hey, yeah, I use this car wash too. Yeah, I use this car wash. Yeah, I love this. Great. I come here every Saturday. Da, 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 da. So, but it's just all about giving a particular store. I'll find their hot button, like Boz is with the sister with Hashimoto's disease. I'll talk about Hashimoto's disease. If I can see that I met this woman who saw my car, who owns a weight loss clinic, and she came up to me and says, yeah, I heard your Kong bar is really good with weight loss. So talk about weight loss, you know? So it's all about, but you're not selling the product, you're selling yourself. Right?
You know, I think, yeah, I love that, you know, because one reason I love busting that question out on everybody is because I think it gives people the, you know, different tools that they need to be able to say the right thing, do the right thing. Because all the people that are coming on, they all have something different to say about that question, you know, because, hey, you've got one thing that you get to say, you know, that's it. And so what is it? What's the most important thing to you? And so, you know, getting to know people, getting to find out what their hot buttons are, that kind of thing is awesome to hear that. And everybody always has something provocative, something interesting, something that we can all learn from. And that's a big part of this mission, is to teach. Because how are people supposed to make a decision about this, about a $4,000 or $5,000 machine that Google says is a scam? How are they supposed to make an educated decision if they're not learning anything? And so that's a big part of what we want to do here. And then, you know, this last little thing, and then we can, you know, open it up a little bit for any last commentary, and then we can rock and roll our day. But a big part of why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to unite people. I'm trying to get people together. I'm trying to get people to, you know, because this is a big family. It's a big team of people. It's the most amazing family of people I've ever been involved with in my life. It's like Shawn and I, we're not even on the same squad. You know, we're on the same team, but we're on the different squad. You know, he's the varsity and I'm the JV. You know, and but we're still rocking and rolling it together. We work with each other every day. We're always in contact with each other. He lives in Montana. I live in Utardia, and you know, so. But it's all about hooking people up, and you never know who's going to resonate with who, and who's going to. You know, you might have said something here today that as this thing, it's going to go on to the Kong Family Show YouTube channel. It's going to be available for you to share, everybody to share. Whoever wants to share it, they're going to be able to share it. And you never know who's going to hear what you had to say today, John, and they're going to be like, wow, I want to work with this guy. I want to get to know this guy. I want to, you know, I got to reach out to this guy. And so part of what I like to ask everybody to do at the end of this is, you know, whatever information you want to give out, you may want to give out phone number, email addresses, you know, Facebook information, websites, you know, I don't care. Whatever you want to give out, you give it out, because that way people can resonate and they can hook up with you. And I just want to point out one thing to all the people that are going to be reaching out as time goes by, that if you're going to send a message to John about, you know, getting up, trending up with him on Facebook or something, do him a common courtesy and tell him why. Tell him why. When you send him that friend request, also send him a message that says, hey, John, you know, I saw you on the Kong Family page and the show and whatever. It was awesome, and I would really love to pick your brain or whatever. You know, just let them know why. Don't just send them a friend request. It's actually rude to just send people a friend request unless you actually know who they are and they know who you are. And because I've gotten a lot of nefarious friend requests. Some of them have turned out to be hacks from people that I thought I knew, and I friended up with them. And so anyway, just doing that common courtesy, kids. And then, so John, you know, whatever you'd like to give out for people to be able to hook up with you, if whatever you want to give out, I'd love to give you this opportunity to do that.
Yeah, you can go to jonswardstrom.com, And you can also reach me on my personal cell phone number, which is 310-739-7973. So if you didn't get that, you can rewind it. Did you guys get that?
I got the first 6. Give me the last 4.
310-739-7973.
7973. I might already have it, but I got a new phone and not everything transferred. And yeah, so cool. I'm just glad that Messenger allowed me to contact you. But go ahead. Anything else? I just started sniffing around at your YouTube. You've got a ton of YouTube stuff. I bird dogged that Hicks interview where he's sitting up on the chair. I can't wait to watch that thing. So I think that's the one you're referring to, little 15-minute gig. Okay,
yeah, that was absolutely amazing because for 4 years now they've been asking us to come down to New Zealand because they said they want to have a big celebration for me and Mika, the direct. And so we got there. They said, you got to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And my plane landed at 8. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm running through the airport. I'm changing my suit, get there about 10 minutes beforehand. And I was actually with Tamia came too to come help. And we walking down the aisle with about 300 people in the room. And these Maori, I wouldn't say Indians, but the Maui tribe.
Aboriginal.
There. What's that?
Aboriginal people. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're doing this dance that they do before rugby. It's just like super cool. And they did that for 3 minutes for us as we're walking down and everybody's standing. And I got that on video. I should actually put that on YouTube too. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's like, wow. That's when it hit me was, man, this is what we're doing for people. They said, we want you guys, for the past 4 years, have been asking us to come down there because they said, John, we have a big celebration for you guys because people are getting amazing results with cancer, diabetes here, and the Aborigine people here want to have a big celebration for you in particular. And, and then they come and treat you like kings and queens. It's like, and by the way, I was talking with Kelly and I said, Kelly, what can we do? What do you need? What do you need? They're pushing they'll have 600 sales by the end of the year, a month. And she says, well, I want to have a conference in September. So, okay. What days? 14, 15. Okay. Who do you want there? You want Bob Redell there? Yeah. Okay. Bob Redelli's there. How about JV Pacifico? Yeah. It'd be great for you. Okay. We'll have him there. And what about Robert Wright, the director of the American Anti-Cancer Institute? Yeah. Okay. Got him. She's just like, oh my God. So we're going to have a great conference there. We're trying to get Mr. Oshiro to show up. He might. So we just got to spin it the right way. But, run with the runners, walk with the walkers. She's obviously running, and we're trying to keep up with her. But, I'm keeping up with her. But it's you don't, like Daniel says, you don't want to send your troops into the battle without bullets. Right? Yeah. Crap. What do I do? Make sure they got plenty of ammunition and they're just knocking people down. They're shooting with bazookas and tanks right now down in New Zealand. We're going to supply them the big bazookas like Bob Redell and JV Pacifico and Robert Wright.
Wow. That is so incredible. I love it. I just love to see this all happening, and it's so humbling and I'm so grateful to be able to be part of this, to be able to have people like you on here. I've reached out to Bob Redell a couple of times to try and see if I could get him to come on here, and I haven't been able to get any replies back from him or anything. Maybe with you, maybe you might be able to get him to give us a nod, maybe just to come on. And I'd sure love to hear his story, where it all started from, and I'm sure that he has lots of great stuff to help people understand just how important all this is.
Well, I had a webinar series at the beginning of the year. I had Robert Wright, JV Pacifico, Bob Redell, Eli, Daniel. So if you want to see the repeats on that, we got the repeats on that. So I'll have those on the YouTube channel too. But there's a lot of really good. Bernard Chan. I was able to spend a lot of time with him when he came out. He was he was out here with his wife, and he wanted to give back to Enagic for all the stuff they've been able to give him, especially with Bob Redell, who went over there and trained his people, even though he's not underneath them, and got his organization going. So Bernard Chan, I got an interview with him on my YouTube channel, and to me, I think one of the best trainings I've ever seen is this training that he did at the office, that he did in December, and he did a whole training at the office, and it really puts the big picture, and really, once you see it, it's like, oh my gosh, that's where the money is. And he did it, and I got it right here on my board. I did it for my group, because once you see it, it's like it opens your eyes, because you think you're 6A, once you become 6A, you really don't understand a whole lot about bonuses and things like that. But once you just understand this, then it's like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to shoot for. And that's a really good training also. Back to you. And I think you're muted though, JJ.
It's definitely a great thing to have people like you that are willing to give up of your time, because I'm quite sure you're pretty busy, and it's so appreciated that you're willing to do this, because we're not paying any of these people to come on here. They're just all doing it out of the great graciousness of their hearts, and that's what I love so much about this family is how many of them are willing to go out there and help each other regardless of any kind of monetary. Like for me, I'm willing to help out anybody, no matter who they are, no matter whose group they're in, no matter where they are, because it gives me the warmth in my heart. One of my favorite things to do is be able to talk to somebody else's person and talk to them about how important this is and why they should be involved, and let them know that I'm telling you this out of the goodness of my heart. I have nothing to gain. I'm not going to make a dime from you buying a Kong machine. So I hope you understand that this isn't coming from any kind of a monetary perspective. Your buddy Roger, he's not even part of my group. He lives up in Canada. I live down here, and we don't have anything to do with each other except that we're part of this incredible family of people. And, Mr. Oshiro didn't say change your water, change your wallet, change your water, change your job. He said change your water, change your life. And you guys all know that that's exactly what happens, is it changes your life. It really does. It has just absolutely drastically changed my life. Not only my health, but my mental health has really been affected by this. And so that's what my goal is to just get as many quality people in here as possible to continue to share the love, share the truth, share the compassion, share the health, share the wealth. And, in the process, what is it we're going to do, Shawn?
Change the world one glass of Kangen water at a time.
Amen. And one
People don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. And I tell everybody in my group, be concerned about people's health, and the money will come. Don't think I've got some of the best salesmen come in my group say, oh, John, I used star salesman at this company. I won this award, this award. I'm going to sell so many of these. This is going to be fantastic. And they crash and burn because they're not concerned about people's health. And people can tell, just like when you somebody start talking to them, whether you're trying to sell them something. That's the first thing you want to know. Oh, this guy's coming up to me. He's got to try and sell me something. So you got to put that off right away. But, and meeting people like Shawn, you got leaders like Shawn, who's an amazing guy. I've been able to get to know Shawn. And, getting to know somebody like Shawn and these other people in Kangen Water is so fun. And all you want to do is just see these guys succeed, because I've already achieved my success and I'm continuing to get more success, but I want to see these guys successful, really,
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Yeah, we can't thank you enough for coming on, my man, especially on the last minute detail. You just jumped on it, and we really appreciate it. This has been a fantastic show. We always talk about value, and yeah, you brought value like a freight train of it today, man, and we just can't thank you enough for it. It's good to see your mug, my friend. Yeah, look forward to connecting with you at the next event. I want to go to San Diego, but I've got some other things on a personal front I got to handle detail-wise, but
Yep.
If anything pops loose and I get a window, I might hitchhike down there. You know, what am I going to do?
Got a place to stay.
Yeah, word. I'll take you up on that. We'll have to connect and get together. It'd be good to see you again at some point in time in the near future. In the meanwhile, again, humbled and absolutely grateful to have you on here.
I was actually able to meet Shawn's son in Czech Republic and talked about Kong and Water, do a little demo. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, he dug it too.
Thank you, John, very much.
All right,
I
guys.
needed this. Thank you very much.
Make it a 9.5 week.
That's it.
And kids, don't forget your hugs. One hug and one HooDeeHooo at a time, kids. Make it a great day. Thanks again, Jon. You rock, brother. Look forward to meeting you in person and giving you a real hug soon enough.
Amen. I needed this, boys.
Nice.
Good.
Nice.
Thanks again, Jon. Have a great day, guys. Love
Hi,
you all.
Kong family. Killing it.
John, we'll hitchhike together, bro.
I'll come out your way, man, and we'll just head down the 5, man. There's
There
a lot
you go. There you go, brother. Let's do her.
pop
All right,
off at 99 along the way, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Little 99 push up Hookerville.
Thanks. Easy out there, wild man.
Oh, brother. See ya.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.
Love you.
Thanks
You too.
again from you, beautiful brother. Be a blessing, man. You are.
Love you guys. Have a great one.